Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we got... we're going max.
We're taking this podcast to the max.
to the fucking max. So,
This would be probably a very explicit episode.
Oh, yeah.
because
oh, yeah.
How graphic this comic was.
The subject matter is fucking awesome. So, we did this week. It was Punisher Max, which is the first adult line Marvel ever had. Was called the Max line, and they had Alias, which is also known as Jessica Jones, and that was like one of the first adult lines. And, you know, she was killing people and fucking people, and it was all crazy and swearing and everything. And so it was cool to see that. And then around the same time, or like even in the same month or whatever, they came out with the Punisher Max. So this was like...
If there's any character for that, this is definitely the one.
Yes, they definitely picked the right character to go Max with. Because, you know, you read Punisher, and Marvel can't show certain things, you know? So you get... You know, he shoots someone and it cuts. You don't see any blood and they just fall down or whatever. Or you don't even see him. You just see like Spider-Man's face go, or whatever. You couldn't, you know, or whatever the fuck Spider-Man would say. I don't know. Aunt May, he did something. I'm tattling. Whatever.
Why are you hating on Spider-Man?
I don't know.
2 weeks of Spider-Man-ish
continuing
comics and you're...
Yeah, I'm continuing hating on Spider-Man just because we read Venom and Carnage, and now I'm like, all right, enough Spider-Man. So, but yeah, this is like one of my favorite series. Had you ever heard of this series before?
I heard of it. You've mentioned it, but
Okay.
I've never read it.
Only
Definitely.
from me though. Like I've only been like, you should read this, right?
Yeah, no, only from you, I think.
Okay, and I will say this: if you want to watch something close to this, the Netflix Punisher series gets in the realm of this. It is not as far-fetched in the violence necessarily. It's more realistic in the violence.
Yeah.
But John Barenthal gets really close to like this, like he is just a killing machine. like he is a fucking Marine and he is gonna kill, or whatever the fuck he was, Delta Force or something, and he is gonna like take all these fuckers out no matter what, you know. Just super badass. So I really like the Punisher Netflix series. So if everybody hasn't watched that, you should go watch that right now before it gets moved to Disney Plus or wherever it's gonna go, and or just buried somewhere. But yeah, it's fantastic. This is, I mean, I think it definitely takes from this. You know what's actually funny is the movie that people don't remember from the Punisher, which is
Warzone?
Zone. Yeah, Warzone.
I'm the only person that remembers that.
Okay, it's fun. I like that movie too. But
I thought the villain they did good in that one.
Yes, but this is like she read this series, the director, and was like, okay, like it's so over the top, I'm gonna make it like that. And so she kind of like took a lot of the same elements. Like in the second half of this, there's like an Irish mob thing, and she takes the McGinty from that and puts him in her movie and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff she did that I actually like and respect that she did that. Lexi Alexander, good on you. So, but yeah, this is like, if you want to read Punisher, read this one. You know, like this will start you off, and anything else you read will never ever quite quench your bloodlust or whatever. You know, if you're reading this to be like, isn't Punisher supposed to be fucking badass? And you read the old Marvels from the 70s and stuff, it just never quite
hold up
get
the
there. You know, I mean, at the time it might have. If you read that in the 70s, you might be like, oh my gosh, gosh golly.
Just out of curiosity, like Thomas Jane, a lot of people were like, oh, he was a good Punisher or whatever.
Yeah.
But the villain was like Lester for that movie. But then he did that Dirty Laundry, like one-shot thing online that everybody was like, oh my God. And I remember being like, that was really cool. As far as like the violence to that, is that something that you compare to like the Netflix series too, or was it?
The Netflix series gets more
Even more?
than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you know gone in that one.
Well, you know what it is? I think it's Thomas Jane is more personable than John Barenthal is. So like Thomas Jane, you're like, yeah, I could have a conversation and a beer with that guy. But John Barenthal has like a standoffish quality to him.
You're biased to that too. We won't get into that, but
Well, whatever. Just say Thomas Jane is a friendly man, and he likes to pet people when he's high at Comic-Con. We'll say that. Anyway, yeah. So this book we read. So first off, we read it's the volume 1 of the complete series. So it actually has Punisher Max Born, which was like the first little mini series that they did. Which is 1 through 4, and then it's issues 1 through 12 in that book, but we only did issues 1 through 6 because the second half is just another of the same, more of the same kind of thing. So we're like, okay, we'll just cover the first half of it. And
yeah, Punisher, once he gets his job to kill some big boss or big crime guy, and then he moves on to the next ones.
Correct.
It's the same kind of similar stories throughout, but
correct. And I mean, this is written by Garth Ennis. Have you read any Garth Ennis stuff before? He did The Boys. He did
Preacher.
Yes, Preacher. No. Okay.
I just remembered he did Preacher. I was like,
nice. You're like Preacher? Oh no, I haven't read it. No, not at all. Nope. Well, we're gonna read some of his stuff for sure because he did one of the best runs of Hellblazer ever, and the movie was based on it. So, like the one with Keanu Reeves. All the cool stuff from that movie is from his book.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that.
Yeah.
From reading those, it was 100%.
I think we're going to skip the 3 of the trades and just jump into his next time we read Hellblazer. So,
cool.
But yeah, so we got the first 6 issues of the main series of Punisher Max, and then Born, the little miniseries, which is 1 through 4. So it starts off in Born, and it is from the point of view of a Vietnam soldier named, what was his name?
Goodwin. Steve Goodwin, I think.
Goodwin, yeah.
I don't remember Goodwin.
Something like whatever. It's all Goodwin. These people we don't. Most of the people die in the Punisher except the Punisher, so we didn't remember most of their names or write them down because it's like, well, we'll just say
they're gonna die.
He was with that team, and then this team happened, and then they all died, and then that's what happened.
Remember, he's in Valley Forge.
Yeah, that's true. So it was like the Punisher is like or Frank Castle will say is in like Vietnam. So this is like when he's young, because Punisher Max takes place when he's like 50 or in his mid 50s maybe. So he's like in his mid 20s in this Born comic, and it starts off like basically it's the tail end of the Vietnam War.
He's a captain in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, and he's like the only guy worth anything on this base.
Oh my god!
Everybody else is like strung out on heroin or just fucking around. And like he's the only one. He's been able to like get a couple men to like be responsible with him and take on like the patrols and everything that just keep him safe. And basically he knows, they're gonna start like basically something's coming, but if these people aren't giving us resupplies or anything, or they're not doing anything. So basically we're gonna be, unless we keep doing these patrols. And like in the patrols they're finding, like they'll catch one person bringing like a shit ton of mortars and ammunition somewhere, and they're like, well, what is this for? And they only caught one of them, and they know like, well, there's no way we caught the only one. So where are they coming back? Where is the supplies going to? And they're about to like do a big attack, and they keep saying like counting down to the end of the war kind of thing, because the war is, for all intents and purposes, almost over, and like this is like the last base that's like around still. Or
yeah, when there's like a big general that comes and he's like, "Yeah, we're not really gonna do much more. You just get ready to pack your stuff up because we'll be leaving sooner than later.
But like also keep doing your fucking patrols and risk your life and everything." So I like that. So like Frank's fed up with the military, like the government, the military. He just he knows what he's good at is killing. He's come to that point, and he just wants to go home. I think he's got a wife, but I don't know. I think he's got Frank Jr. maybe.
No, he's got a wife and his daughter. His
daughter, okay.
Yeah, his son is. I guess he was pregnant before he left or something.
Okay, so yeah, like he's got a family, but this is his last tour kind of thing, and he's just trying to make it out. And to make it out, he's got to be the most hardcore motherfucker ever, And so, and it's weird because this actually sets up kind of like a mystical origin for Punisher, where like in his mind, there's like a voice like that he hears in his head, and it's basically, it makes it seem like it's actually like a separate person, like a god of war or some kind of demon spirit or something that he's talking to, or that's talking to him in his head, that like physically makes him want, like, he's like, it's like, do you want, like, you're gonna have to make a choice, Frank. Do you want to live, or do you want to like die here in this muck? And if you want to live, you know what you have to do. And what you have to do is like surrender everything, and all you gotta do is say yes. just accept my gift of like uncontrollable death. And and so like the whole comic, the whole 4 issues, he's like kind of resisting this. Like, you know, he doesn't want to be a killing machine when he goes back to his wife and kids, kind of thing. And I guess it's kind of like a metaphor for like what actually happened, you know, to people who came back from Vietnam, who were, you know, all they knew was like, or even any war, where like all of a sudden you're back and you're like, I got to mow the lawn, you know. I just killed someone 10 days ago or whatever, and and now I got to smile at my neighbor and mow the lawn. Like that's a weird transition. So yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know if it was actually a demon spirit, but it made it seem like there was kind of like a heavy dialogue between him and this other voice. And so it could have been in his head, or it could have just actually been like an evil spirit kind of thing that gives him his awesome like survivals, you know, powers or whatever, or just like war tactician kind of thing or something. Because also like he's the only survivor in this whole thing. Like by the end of it, he like literally he says yes, and like when all the shooting starts and the Viet Cong starts coming after him, it's like the thing's like, you're gonna die unless you say yes, and he's like, fine, yes. And then once he does that, then it like, you know, then it like goes black or whatever, and then it comes back, and like the helicopter shows up, be like, hey guys, we're here to bring you home.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then like it's just Frank standing in a pile of bodies and gore and like craziness. And so like he was the only survivor at Valley Forge that lived, and it's because he said yes kind of thing. That's what it makes you think. So it sets up like this, is he mystical, isn't he mystical, whatever. He's just really good at killing. So at the end of that series, and a lot of stuff happens in that series, and this was actually the first time I read that Bourne series. So I recommend it. Would you recommend that Bourne series?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, they're like all of his interactions that he has with finding like the few people that are actually good in his platoon or whatever were really cool. Like when they go out on patrols, there's like little interactions that they have, and like some guys tried to rape some of the Viet Cong there, and he like is like, no, we're not here to do that. And then like he kills one of them later on.
Yeah, like he some guy tries to rape a woman that's fighting for the VC, and they catch her, and actually I think he does rape her. He's in the process of raping her as Frank walks up and is like, get the fuck off of her or whatever, and he's like, what? And then like I think Frank like pushes him away or something, and then like the next night or something, he just like, hey, why don't you go on a patrol? Then he like shoots him in the head or something.
No, it's when he like he's washing his face off in the river.
Oh, that's right.
He puts his boot on his head.
That's right. It's like a couple minutes later. He's like, well, that was a hard rape. I better wash my face off. And then that's right. Frank just like puts his boot on the back of his head and like drowns him in the river.
Yeah, it was hardcore.
It was fucking awesome. And
the
also trigger warning for this book. If you can't handle extreme violence or towards anybody, he doesn't pull punches. Like Garth Ennis does not care who Frank Castle's killing. If they're evil, they're evil. If they're, I mean, all the evil people do evil things.
It's all people with bad intent, whether that bad intent is something that is murder or it is rape, or
right? But also like the bad things happen. So like, you know, you're gonna see bad stuff because the bad people do bad things, and then Frank takes care of bad people. So
that's true. It's not just people that think bad thoughts. It's people who actually
they're doing stuff. So just a trigger warning. You know, I think you already would have got that from our presentation at the beginning, but
just making sure.
Yeah, just making sure. Don't read this if you're adverse to violence of like hardcore violence, and especially in a visual format. And like you said, it's kind of comical, but it's also not. I mean, there's some stuff that's comical, and then there's some stuff like holy shit.
Oh yeah.
So that, and the Bourne one had more of a holy shit because it's like a war vibe. So you're seeing like we said, the guy's actually raping the girl, and then later on, like Frank Castle just steps on his face into the river, kills him. And there's another scene when like you said, when the general came to be like, yeah, anyway, we're closing this down, so go on a couple of you're gonna get killed missions, and then we'll be out of here. And then Frank's like, hey, can you take a look on this over there? There's something weird over here. And he was standing in front of a sign, and the sign said, "Do not cross, sniper." And active sniper, and Frank was standing in front of that sign on purpose. And so the general's like, what am I looking at here? And he like goes on top of this berm, and then all of a sudden he gets shot in the head. And it was like, oh my God, Frank just killed the general. But like, because he was just, a horrible person or whatever. Like he's sending people to war, and Frank Castle, once again, it doesn't matter what side you're on. What are your actions? Are you a fucking asshole?
Yeah.
Are you murdering people?
He did that to general, and then there's whoever is the top leader of the base there.
Like the head lieutenant or whatever.
Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't, because like he has a chance to kill him.
He almost frags him. Yeah, he almost like throws a grenade in the latrine.
In the toilet.
Yeah.
Let's go to the bathroom.
And then he doesn't. I think he doesn't because he knows he's going to need him in like the battle coming up or whatever. So, I think that's why. But he knows like that guy's probably going to die then. And if he doesn't, maybe then he would take him out at the end of that. But he does not survive. So,
but Bourne, yeah. So they all come, and Frank's the only survivor. He gets a big machine gun and takes care.
And he takes care of business. And so yeah, Bourne ends like we said with Frank Castle being the only survivor of Valley Forge. The people pull up and are like, "We're here to take you." Yeah, and then he's like, he said yes to the demon or whatever, or the evil, or the whatever voice inside of him. He let go all of his rage or whatever. So
he gets cleaned up. They take him home, and I love when he goes to meet his family. He just his stone face, like, like you were saying, like, what am I gonna have to go back? What do I have to go back to? Like,
right? Yeah. What have I become? I'm some kind of monster, and I'm supposed to like pretend I'm a killing machine, and now I have to go like have a house and a job and a whatever. Yeah. So a picket fence and so then we get the actual series, which is Punisher Max. It starts with number 1, and we did 1 through 6, and this cuts ahead about 30 years. So it goes from like Vietnam, I'm assuming mid 70s, I think is when it was, or late 70s, to it cuts ahead to, I think this started in 2003 or something like that, 2002.
Okay.
So right around, this is right around the time of 9/11 and the wars going on in Afghanistan and Iraq, and so Punisher is just punishing people, and all he cares about right now is killing some mobsters. So this first story arc is called In the Beginning, and there was a couple different artists on this. I didn't write down who they were.
There were a couple. I wrote them down. There's Derek Robertson, Luis Rosa, and then Leonardo Fernandez.
Okay, and they were all good. And Derek Robertson is he's good. He's known for he did The Boys, and he did like a couple Conan stuff.
His art is, I think, the first one, and that one kind of reminded me of The Dark Knight Returns. So like not Frank Miller style per se, but like the other ones that kind of were similar to that. Like it kind of felt like.
Oh, you know what he did? Transmit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So same artist as that. But yeah, his art, all of their art was good. Yeah, everything was dark and gritty. Some of them are more dark and grittier than the others, but the first issue was definitely darker and grittier than the other ones.
Yes.
So whoever did that, I think it was La Rosa. Yeah, La Rosa. So yeah, but anyway, it starts off, it's called In the Beginning. And like Frank, like he's scoping out this party, this mob party. It's got all the heads of this mob organization. I think it's the Italians for this one.
Yeah,
because that's the other thing. This is all about different mobs that are in the city of New York, and him taking on each one individually. So it starts off with the Italians, and it goes to the Irish, then it goes to the Russians, then it goes to all these different factions that come up because of this. Like, you take one out and the power vacuum fills with something else. So he's got like more and more crazy shit going on as the run goes on. But it starts off, he's, the classic Italian mob. And there's like, I don't know, 200 people at this like house. And it's a party for old Don. I don't know his name. Don something.
Yeah, Don something.
Don Corleone's 100th birthday or whatever. And
yeah, this old man who's on like a respirator in a wheelchair.
He's in a wheelchair. Yeah.
Just sitting there like, okay.
I like pie. And garlic pie is what he likes. And so
Mama's cannelloni.
Good. He doesn't even say words. He's just in like an Italian way. I'm Italian. John's Italian, so we can say this. So right away, like Punisher just walks into the room and like he's narrating this whole thing. So there's a lot of narration. This is like one of the fastest reads I've ever had for the comics that we've done. It was like, I think I read Born in a half hour and I read 1 through 6 of Punisher Max in like 45 minutes. It was like super fast and it's just super like well done, pacing and everything.
It's his internal monologue, usually a lot of killing and then some exposition.
And then people are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the next like people he's gonna kill, like it sets up that story a little bit. And then it starts over again.
And then it repeat.
Reload.
So he's thinking like, okay, I got this and that going on. I'm ready for this. I'm prepared for that. They're not prepared. They got this stupid fucking party. And so he like walks in and he automatically looks way older than he did in the Bourne series, which I liked that they separated it that much, and that the art like showed it. And then he just walks in and shoots the old man in the head, like because the door it was like French doors were open and it was like open to the outside yard. So Frank was in the yard in the French doors and just shoots him and then runs away. And he's like, okay, that's a surprise for him. They'll have to take at least 5 minutes to get like reoriented in what's going on and then prepare.
They're gonna get mad. They're gonna prepare.
Yeah.
They're gonna
he's got like this whole checklist in his head. So I assume he's got like like a 50 cal machine gun lined up, just right enough away so that when they're ready to fight and they all run outside to get him, he's got the 50 cal and that's what he does. He literally mows down
just
200 people, like
just ground beefs people.
Yeah,
like
just like I mean, it was like a World War I scene where like we don't know what a machine gun is, so we're gonna run straight towards it. Like, and they even try to like flank him and stuff, and he's like, luckily I prepared for that, and he had like fucking claymore mines that he had like booby trapped that say like it just was like point towards enemy or whatever. Yeah. And you just see that and like a foot stepping on a wire and then boom. Yeah, and it's like. So basically, he like kills every head of the family, and there was like women and children in this too, and they do not get like spared.
No, he like mows down, then the people try to flank him, and that explodes, and that causes a distraction for a second. He's like enough time to reload, and then go over him one more time, make sure I get any people that are straggling that maybe didn't quite. You know.
It is fucking crazy.
It was crazy.
It's a hell of an intro to a comic. If you never read Punisher before. And I hadn't when I read this. I was like, oh my God. The first time when I read this in like 2007 or whatever. But yeah, so then he like basically all the heads are dead of this family. There's like one guy left and like he's trying to figure it out. He's just a low-level lieutenant too, and he's like, well, there's a lot of henchmen or whatever, you're like, enforcers in the ground, but there's no like head people anymore. And so, except like me, and I'm not even really that much of a head. And they're trying to like, obviously, get around. Like they don't want to be taken over now because now they're weakened, right? Like they could get taken over by the Irish or anybody else. So they're trying to like maintain their supremacy in this area this whole time. And so they need a leader. So that basically they go to like this guy who was kicked out of the mob of that family.
Oh, the Cavelli guy.
Yeah, and he was a little over the top for them, which I don't know how you are over the top for the mob, but apparently he was like way overdoing it. Like
we've watched some mob movies. There could be some people over the top.
Yeah, I mean it's like Joe Pesci in like Casino or something.
Deal?
Yeah. No, that's wrong.
That's wrong. Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, like basically he's an enforcer, or like he was an enforcer, but he's higher up because he's like a made man kind of thing. So, and he's got like two guys with him. One of them looks really weird and like bug eyed.
The bug eyed guy with glasses. He was like dead eye the entire time. He was like,
yeah,
what are we gonna do, boss?
Yeah, yeah. And then like he ended up being like super fucking creepy and everything too. But yeah, he's got like these weird like kind of goat eyes. They just like point opposite sides of each other, and they're all bulbous and weird. Then there's another guy that helps him out who's like he's just like a kind of a Punisher, like he can't be killed.
Yeah.
Like he's just so rugged and tough and won't die kind of thing. And so they're like, well, they're meeting with this dude, and the guy's like, I don't, the only thing I can think is if you come to help us. And the guy's like, really? I mean, because we're kicked out of the family, you think everybody will go along with that? And he's like, what the fuck else are they going to do? There's like literally children and enforcers left. Like, that's it. So they like, he makes like an agreement with this guy. Like, if you get the Punisher and get revenge, like you could take over basically. And so, so they go to like kind of do that. And then there's like a side story, or like a side back in the background going on where, the Punisher has a sidekick, or had a sidekick in the 90s, and I think in the 80s too, but for sure in the 90s. And his name was Micro, and he was like the internet hacker.
Yeah, it's like his tech guy. Like,
yeah.
He made like fashion weapons to be like upgraded, and like did his like
I think it was more
hacking.
Yeah, he was like, okay, I need you. The guy's on the left side. Like he's typing on the computer while talking to Frank on the earpiece, and he's like, okay, Frank, the headquarters is over here. The schematics for them say there's a sewer in the corner, so you can get down. And like he was helping Frank do that, and he even says like Frank Castle before me he killed like 50 people, and then after me. He's killed over 800. Yeah. So, like, basically, I turned him into, like, the force he is for real. And so Micron has teamed up with the government. Because I think in the real series, like the old series, he must have, like, either got, like, quit or, like, something happened where he got, like, disillusioned with the Punisher. So this is him, like, trying to get Frank back in. And what it is the government, the CIA... He's trying to recruit the Punisher via Micro. And, like, so he can go fight in Afghanistan and, capture bin Laden and stuff. Like, that's how they're pitching it to the Punisher. And it was kind of cool how they got him into, like, the meeting of this. Because, so
they have these two CIA people that are following Frank Castle.
And they're pretty inept, too. Like, it's a woman and a man. And they're like, the man seems like a fucking idiot. The woman seems fine. Like
she seems like she got her head on, except she's also like making like crude like comments about the Punisher. Like
she is super horny for the Punisher. She's just like, oh, look at that chest. He makes me so wet.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, like explicit. It was like, whoa. She's like, I wonder how big his dick is.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was really, really funny to like have like a woman that forward or whatever in the comic, especially like in this scene. She's supposed to be like a government, agent.
They're undercover, like supposed to be doing a stakeout, and she's like, oh man, there's something about him. He just makes me so like horny, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. So it was funny. It was a good like dynamic. And then the guy is like, I don't know. He just seems like a bitch. Like he's just like a wuss or something.
Yeah, he kind of was like aloof a little bit, but also like he didn't want to really
like he's never pulled his gun really or something. Like he's always been collecting data and doing surveillance, but he's never like been in a situation where he's going to go up against like actual like heavy hitters or anything. So he just seemed kind of like ineffectual most of the time. Like, and even when later on he gets captured and it's like he's no resistance at all.
Yeah.
So he. Or they're scoping out the Punisher, and Micron's like, okay, like I'm gonna go get him. Like you guys have to stay put, and you're like, I wonder how he's like. Is he gonna be like, hey Frank, let's go get a coffee or whatever? And no, that's not how you get the Punisher. Especially like the Punisher is like once he left the Punisher, apparently the Punisher was like, you're dead to me. If I see you again, it means you're here to kill me or something, So Micro goes like pulls up out of the van or something and says like, hey Frank, and the Punisher's like, huh? And like the Punisher was I think he was going to like kill or like go to surprise the mob guys or something. So
Yeah.
he was like on his way to get those second level guys that were like gonna take him on now, and the ones that were like the outcasts. And on his way to like walking into that restaurant or whatever, Micro comes out and is like, "Hey Frank," and then he's like, "What?" And then it says like the second it took me to realize, you know, it was Micro. Was a second too long or whatever. It's like he got one free second and that was too much. And like basically Micro shoots him with a shotgun in the chest, and then he shoots him in the face, and that's like one of the, I think it's like the second issue ends like that.
Yeah, and
it was like, what did he just kill the Punisher? And then it was like, no, I shot you in the face with like stun bullets. Or I think it's like rubber bullets, but that would hurt like a motherfucker if you got shot in the face. I mean, it would blow your eye out or something. But like we said, in this one, the Punisher's kind of like supernaturally immortal-ish, because they, like you said, they set it up in Bourne that he's kind of like just a god of war or some shit, you know. So so then like they capture him, and Frank, you know, they got him in like an office, and they're like, okay, Frank, like I just need a yes or no, you know, like this is the thing. Micron's talking to him, and he's like,
I like that he goes over his backstory a little bit, and like this kind of I think this is the real click for me, how old he was. He's like, man, Frank, you know, I've known you a long time, and like your son would have been like 33 and your daughter would have been 37. And I was like, holy, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they died in this is like supposed to be in real time with the comic.
Yeah,
so he was in Vietnam, and then all that stuff in the comics where he was Punisher actually happened year-wise.
Yeah.
So whenever that happened where he came back from Vietnam and had a family there, that's like really when the Punisher started, and then all that time was 37 years or whatever. You know?
So just it was like, holy fuck, like how many people has he really killed? And like, that was just it was cool to see him like have that little bit of
and especially in this series when he says you've been doing it for like 37 years, you're like, holy fuck, because I just saw him kill a whole mob family. And so if that's one night, you know, how long is 37 years? How many bodies is that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And, you know, it says he killed over 800 people, but he just killed like 200
but that was
one night.
That was with Micro, and he hasn't been with him for a while. Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So Micro's like, okay, like enough of this like mob, like street crime shit. You know, we got bigger fish to fry. Like basically the government wants you. Like the government needs you. You know, Uncle Sam poster here. Like, and it's like we got, you know, people like Bin Laden and terrorists around the world, and you know they're causing way more, you know, shit going on than these mobsters.
He gives them a good deal too. He's like, there won't be any red tape. Like it'll be how you want to do it. I told him already. Like,
right.
It's how you want things to go down, Frank. You don't have any like. Basically, Frank has all to say. So it was like, oh wow, okay, like.
But
it's intriguing.
The difference is, so, and this was the cool thing about reading Bourne before this, is now you know what he went through in Vietnam. So then he's like, it's going to be the same fucking thing, where they send me on these missions, like unprepared, understaffed, not really what they say.
Yep.
They don't give a fuck about me, plausible deniability if I'm caught or any of that shit. So it's like, it's not what they say it is, you know, but they want you to go hoorah for them, you know, but then the second you need them, they're like, oh, who are you? I don't know. What? Oh, someone forgot to pick up the phone or whatever, you know. So, you were in prison for 10 years. Oh, that's too bad, you know. So he's like, what is it? Yes or no? And Punisher's like, fuck you, you know, just straight up like, no, this is bullshit, and he's pissed. And so, in the meantime, while Frank's been up in this little interrogation room, it's in a hotel. And the mobster that's like trying to find him and kill him so he can become like the new head of the mob, the Italian mob, is like, okay, guys, like we gotta search out, kind of figure out who, you know, where he would be, who are these people that kidnapped him, because there's all these like reports the Punisher was kidnapped on the street. You know, some guy pulled out of a van and then captured him.
And there's this old guy they interviewed on the news, and he's like, oh yeah, I saw the guy who took him in the van or whatever. And like, oh, okay. So they're like, okay, we're gonna go and find this old guy. While also one of the, I guess the CIA people are watching the news, and they're like, we should go talk to the old guy and be like, you didn't see anything, basically.
Yeah. So like it was kind of funny because So they're like, we need to just like see if this old guy actually saw something. So the mob guys head to his house, and then the like feckless idiot CIA agent guy who was in the car with the woman, the sexually explicit woman. He was like, I'm gonna go check out this guy too because he saw him on the news as well. And so he goes over there and he beats the mobsters there, and he like knocks on the door.
And the guy the guy has the door chained. He's like, "Hey, like let me in. Like we need to talk." And the guy's like, "No, why?"
Yeah, and then he's like, "Wait, are they with you?" And there's like 3 guys behind the FBI agent or the CIA agent, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And then like, so basically now they don't have an old man they gotta talk to. They got the actual CIA agent who's like, "What do you know and why did you kidnap Frank Castle?" kind of thing. So they start talking to him in a car while they're driving around. They're like, "See, buddy, like all you got to do is answer our questions, and we promise you'll be fine." And he's like, "Really? Like I don't feel like I'm gonna be fine." They're like, "No, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And like, you can tell these guys are not good guys. And of course, he basically tells them everything that they need to know. But you find out the reason why is because they cut off his balls and put him in a cup. Yeah. And so they they go to the hotel.
I thought they killed him at first because they show him in like an alley or whatnot. And then the one, and like they're going to drive away, and the one mob guy has to stop again. He like pukes, and he's like, "Oh, it's like the worst thing I've ever seen." Oh, I was like, "You never seen somebody get killed before?" Yeah. And then later the guy
goes back to the hotel where they got Frank Castle. And he's like, "Help me!" And he's like holding his groin, and he's got a cup. And she's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Oh my god, your balls are in a cup!" And he had like they cut his balls off and they put it in a cup. And then like he had to walk around with them. And
maybe he picked him up and put him in a cup.
I don't think so. I think it was like a joke.
They handed it to him.
Yeah, they're like, "Here you go, son of a bitch." And then so
it was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So they go to like they're gonna attack him. They had to come up with a plan of like how they're gonna assault this building because they know there's like FBI agents and stuff there.
CIA.
I'm sorry, CIA agents.
That's okay. Well, because there's a head guy that they keep referencing to. It's like Bethel or something. He's like the main guy that keeps asking. Yeah. All of them and Micro to like I guess he's like the CIA confidant or whatever.
Right, like the head dude. They come up with a plan. They go to the hotel. I can't remember. Do they like pull a fire alarm or something?
So they go to the hotel and it's what it is the female goes looking for the guy with missing the balls because he's been gone too long, and so she shows up and he's back. He's like outside of the other place where the old man was, and that's where she's like, oh, they know where he is. So as they're going back, they tell the head guy, and they order like a strike team to be at the hotel. And so the mob shows up the same time as the strike team is like going up the elevator, and the mob I guess like just beat him to it upstairs. And the one mob guy like opens up the elevator, the first doors while they're going up in the elevator, and cuts the wire.
Yeah, it's funny. They have like a plan where they're like, okay, we already know like they call them the SWAT team. They're gonna go up the elevator. So if we get in the elevator shaft and we cut the tow line, then they'll fall or whatever, which wouldn't happen, but that's besides the point. You can't cut through it with a knife either. He had a fucking knife. He was like, it's like, crazy huge cable. But anyway, in this comic, this is a very old elevator that has like a rope or something. That's the line that lifts it up, and he's able to cut through the rope as the like guys get on, and they're like, well. Oh, hopefully it's not too much of a hubbub or whatever. They get on. They're like, how was your wife, Jim?
However many stories up they are.
Yeah, and then he cuts the line. The elevator falls, and and you see like all this blood and gore like come out of the elevator doors.
Squish out of it. Oh my god.
That's what I was talking about. Like it's a little campy in the deaths too. So you can't. It's not so graphic because of that. They go a little extra to make it feel unbelievable, kind of like Kill Bill or something, where like. Yeah. It's so great. Over the top that it's not as violent as a real like war movie or something because that's realistic. This is like over and unrealistic, so it's it's more it's less hard hitting, even though it is pretty graphic. It's just more it helps you like take it more, even though it's still graphic. But so they go up to the room where like Frank and the head CIA guy is and Micro is, and they're like, something's going on. You know, like those Delta Force guys should be here already. You know, they went up the elevator like 10 minutes ago. And then the mob guys show up, and there's like a big, you know, shootout and whatnot. And basically, like everybody's getting shot. Everybody's getting shot at. They take out like the woman, the like horny woman agent, and they shoot her, and she's like. She sees Frank and he's killing people, and she's like, God, I'm so wet right now. Oh,
she's
man.
on the floor dying.
Yeah, and she's like still horny for Frank.
It's so weird.
Oh, man, it was so weird. But yeah, it was funny as hell. And yeah, she's like ready for it. And then, but she dies anyway. And then like the head CIA guy, he's like, hey, maybe we can make a deal, guys. And they just like, he gets killed right away too. And then like one of the guys gets hit in the leg, right? One of the mob guys gets hit in the leg.
Yeah, so I like when they break into the room where Micro and Frank are, like they shoot Micro and like they're like, "Oh, we got you, Frank." And the one guy is like just puts the gun to his head, and then Frank bites his finger like almost off.
Before he can pull the trigger, he's like, "Ha!" and like totally bites his thumb off almost.
Yeah, and so he's like, he like shoots up and flails, and then while they're all kind of like going around, Micro like crawls up behind Frank and unlocks the chains, and it just from there like Frank like grabs the head of that one guy and smashes it into the head of another one of the mob guys against the wall.
Yeah, this is where the dude with the like fish eyes or whatever like gets killed like that, and like it's so fucking bloody. The one that lives pretty much, there's like the main like heavy hitter guy. The one that like won't die, he fights Frank, and it's like a real fucking fight. Like they're like just stabbing each other and like shooting each other, and it's not killing either one.
Yeah, no, it's hardcore. Like like Frank gets shot and he's like, oh, that was a rib, not like broken, like gone.
Yeah,
and then like he stabs him or whatever, and then he like. They're fighting and punching really hard, and then like he throws the guy.
Yeah, he throws him out the window, and he lands on like a fence that has those like iron spikes, those like wrought iron spikes, and it goes through the dude, like through his neck and chest and torso, and he's still.
Yeah, and Frank jumps out after him and like and like lands on him.
Yes,
braces his fall and like so hurts that guy more obviously. And like Frank like runs back in to get into the building or whatever and grabs like a shotgun.
Yeah.
And then the guy's coming back in after him with the
fence in him. It was like ridiculous how like able to handle the damage this dude is. But just like Frank, I mean, you got to have someone who's he can go toe to toe with kind of thing.
Yeah.
But basically, Frank takes on everybody, and then like Micro is mortally wounded, and he's like, hey, Frank, like, sorry about all this. I just thought it would be best if you had like a mission or something, And then like Frank's like, like, just basically doesn't care. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like he had feelings at one time. You could see there's emotion in his face, but he's just past the point of like basically Micro betrayed him, and that's all he needed to know. Like there was no other judgment that could be had. He's not going to let Micro go. He's too much of a risk now because he knows Micro's might come back for him or team up with someone else or get captured or whatever. He knows too much about Frank to let him live. So,
well, he takes him though because they pick him up and they take him. He goes to like Micro's like we can go here. I know a place like basically it's like a safe house.
Yeah, but then once they're there, he's like.
Oh yeah, well now that he's like, okay, so we're here. I've got a weapon stash. Like we're cool, right, bro? Like everything's gonna be okay. And it was interesting because they while he was interrogating him, he Frank told him like a random seemingly story about he's like the guy I guess that pushed him over the edge when he was like still mourning his family, and it was like his neighbor that was like, hey, Frank, I haven't seen you in a while. You want to here? I brought some drinks or whatever. And he's like, oh, man, I feel you. I lost my wife recently, too. I cheated on her.
Yeah, and that bitch left me or whatever. And Frank's like,
you piece of
threw away your marriage after my family was murdered, and you came to tell me that? He's like, he just says run, and his neighbor's like, what?
What?
He's like, I told you to run, and it was just like, holy shit, like, yeah. So, that was kind of like an allusion to what Frank is saying he did. Basically, he had it all, and he threw it away, and now he's trying to, hey, it's okay, right? We're still cool or whatever. And then no,
Frank's like, nah, I told you that story for a reason. You can run, and that's about it.
Yeah,
but he can't obviously because he's already wounded.
yeah. He's like, but I'm wounded. He's like, well, that's too bad. And he just shoots him in the head with a shotgun. So it's like, Jesus Christ, But that's a way to end it with a bang per se. But yeah, so he kills Micro, and pretty much everybody's dead. The head security or the head CIA guy's dead. The head of the mob syndicate people were dead. Yeah, everybody that was in this book dies except Frank Castle and like the lower mob dude.
Yeah,
and that's about it. And yeah, and then like we said, the collection that we had is actually 12 issues long. So then it starts right away with, and now he's going after the Irish mob, and so like just going one after the other kind of thing. But we didn't read that one because it was like, okay, it's the same story or same-ish story, but you get the point. Needless to say, pick this one up. Is a fun read if you're okay with the ultra violence.
Yeah, ultra violence. Like you said, definitely. So the woman with some of her comments was very explicit.
Yeah, yeah. That I don't know if that character will be written as such nowadays.
No, probably not.
But it was fun in this series, and it's also fun because this is a Marvel book. Like that's fucking crazy that this is a Marvel book. Like pushing the boundaries like that is pretty crazy for Marvel. So. Yeah. I don't know if there's other, like there was another series after this called Max Punisher, but I don't think it was as graphic as this one. Yeah. So,
well, I don't think there's too many Marvel characters you could really go that hardcore.
Yeah, I mean you could do a Moon Knight or something.
Moon Knight, maybe Wolverine on his own.
Luke Cage,
Blade.
Yeah, Blade. There's some darker characters.
Yeah.
They could definitely get a line out of this. I would love it if Marvel did this, but they're not going to do
They're
this.
not going to do that now, no.
But it would be fucking cool if they did that. So, I mean, you could even have, if Blade's going to be in it and Luke Cage, I mean, they could be fighting, the state or some shit in this or whatever, like police or something. You could do something crazy like that. And even in this, like, I mean, obviously Frank Castle, he doesn't care if you're with the CIA or whoever. If you're being bad,
yeah, you're gonna get punished.
You're gonna get punished. He's gonna spank you with a 50 BMG. So, yeah,
with a shotgun or an M60 or something.
Some buckshot to the face. I don't know, but yeah. So, anything else you want to hit on that one?
I really love the guy that won't die.
Yes,
just coming after him. I think he finally shoots him in the face with the shotgun.
Yes.
And like that was right because it was like that
and
was
his face he was still alive.
Yeah, his face was like all split open, and that was right. It's a really graphic page. I forgot. It was all like just
and
like,
he was still like yeah, it was
ridiculous.
Yeah, but in like the best way possible. So,
yeah, no, I really like this one.
So what would you give this one, John?
It was fun. As far as like just. It was over the top. It was intense. It was bloody.
It was quick too.
It was, yeah. Like you said, it's like a little bit of dialogue, crazy violence, and then exposition set up for the next big shoot off. So.
Right. Yeah, everything was like paced really well.
Yeah.
There was no like boring spots or anything I had to be like pushed through or anything. So
I would give this an 8. It was good.
I liked
it a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one an 8 too. It was fun. It was groundbreaking because it's Marvel. That's why, because this is like the first time Marvel's ever done anything adult like this. And I wish they had an adult line still. I don't know if it's stopped selling well or something. But
what's the one you said they have now? It's like the Black Label?
That's DC.
Oh, it's DC. Okay.
Yeah, DC has Black Label. But Marvel doesn't really have anything this adult. I mean, their regular stuff is more adult than it used to be, Like I'd say their stuff that used to be PG is now PG-13 or something, But yeah. Nothing's like this is like if this was a movie, it'd be like rated NC-17 or whatever
something,
for violence. Yeah,
for sure.
Especially if it was like he just doesn't care about who you are, where what you are. Are you bad? He is the angel of death. He is coming for you. and you should be on the lookout. So, yeah, this is like one of the best Garth Ennis runs too. It's like 80 issues or something like that, and I mean, I've read the whole thing twice. There's not many full runs like that I've read all the way through twice. So, and it's kind of like, I haven't read that Punisher in a while. Let me read, and then I read this, this first 6 issues. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm right back into it. So, it's got a really good flow and feel to the whole, and like the bad guys as it goes on progress. They get like it's kind of like a video game where like, oh, now he meets his new, match or whatever. There's a guy named Barracuda who's like a special forces dude that he fights. That was like he's like a mercenary now. So like, it's like a really like
intense fight.
Yeah, it goes over like whole runs, like issues, like 20 issues of this is about him fighting him and coming back and like all this crazy shit. So it's good. But yeah, if we ever like do another part of this, we might just jump to Barracuda because it's like a good, another really good part of it. So
nice.
But yeah, so we both give it an 8. On that note, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word, @gmail.com.
Yep, don't forget to check out our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel. Exclusive content on YouTube right now. Don't forget to hit those subscribe buttons. Also, all of our back catalogs on there, as well as pretty much everywhere you listen to your podcast now. Got a nice back catalog going. So.
Yeah, we got about 50 issues, all total with Matt's Minis, we got about 50 podcasts going on right now. So
check it out.
It's getting there. So on that note, we'll see you guys later. Bye. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.